So the last question I had is, which sewing machine do I use? And this is the sewing machine that I use. It's the HD9. And because I'm in selfie mode on Facebook Live, you can see that that is backwards. But this is by Janome, and Janome do sponsor me, and they have provided this wonderful machine for me. But prior to this, I had a 6600, which was also a wonderful machine. Not quite as strong as this, because this will go through anything, but it did have decorative stitches and zigzag and buttonholes and all those things that I don't really use. But all the things that I didn't like about the 6600 were solved in the 6700. So I didn't particularly like the lighting on it. It was wasn't bright LED lighting, and can't remember what else I didn't like about it. Oh, the thread cutter wasn't very good on the 6600. I mean, it was fine, but you know, you lost the thread a little bit. So you couldn't use the thread cutter and then start sewing again straight away afterwards. I think that was it that I didn't like about the 6600. But Janome suggested that I was maybe not the best advert for them by using an old machine, and so they upgraded me to the 6700. Some of you may know, last year, and I loved it because it had just solved all of the things that I didn't like about the 6600, and it was wonderful, and it was bright and shiny and wonderful, and it was nowhere near as strong as the 6600. It had just lost that power, and I was absolutely gutted. So I contacted them and I said to them, I'm sorry, I can't, in all honesty and goodwill, I cannot say to my, to my friends, to my group members, I can't say, oh, I use the 6700 and I love it, because I didn't love it and it wasn't doing what I needed it to do. And without a question, they took it and they replaced it with the HD9. And since I've had the HD9, I haven't looked back. Now, it doesn't do anything other than straight stitch. But what it does do is it just works. Okay. So you know when you go in, you're doing maybe a zip top in a bag and you want to go over and along, and there's a little lump there where the zip end is, and there's a lump there where the seam ends. It just sews over those perfectly, with perfectly even stitches, perfectly regular. It will sew through anything you can fit under the foot. It will sew through. Now the foot doesn't lift up quite as high as the 6600 on the second lift. Let me explain about that. So the 6600 has got two lifts. So the first lift and then the second lift where it will hold. The HD9 has got a single, so that's it down. It's got a single lift, but then it's also got a double lift, but you have to hold it in place. Don't know if you can see that on the video. Now that hold is exactly the same height as the 6600, but on the 6600 it holds it in place for you. So if you're not feeling particularly strong, it can be a bit of a struggle just to keep that up at the higher lift level. But I've never struggled to get anything under it. You're just a little bit aware of it when you maybe come to a zip pull where you have to angle your fabric to move it out of the way. Or if you've got something particularly thick, you might have to just hold it up while you pop it under. But personally, I haven't struggled. I know some people expected it to have a second lift, but let me tell you why it doesn't. See, on this computer there is no, this machine, there is no computer software at all. There's no there's no screen, there's no nothing. At the retreat hotel, actually, some of the waiters, some of the younger lads, the first time they saw us all at retreat, they couldn't believe that some of the machines had iPads on them. It's got an iPad on it. Where some of the machines have got the the sort of software attached to it. This doesn't have any. So if you had a second lift on this machine and then you started to sew, it would just completely break the machine because of the power behind the sewing motion. But if you've got it on the first lift and you try to sew, it can recognise that, you know, it's got like a little, I don't know, cog or something technical, but you know, a what's it. It's got a what's it inside, so it doesn't damage the machine. You realise and you can't sew any further, etc. But if you had it on the second lift, that first attempt at a stitch would just damage it too far. So that's why it doesn't have the second lift. I don't know that for sure. I've made that up in my head, but it sounds about right. That it's got a what's it, but not a doody. Okay. Oh no, not a doo-doo, not a dee-dee. Yeah, okay. We'll cut there. So on my machine, so that's the only thing that I have heard ever sort of said about. And the other thing is, now these are not negatives because I have no problem with these at all. Just want to be completely transparent with you. So the extension table for it has got a little flap, which is lovely, and it's got a side loading bobbin. It's got an industrial hook race and bobbin thingy. I don't really know. Lynn knows. But it's got something industrially about it. So this is the bobbin and the case. Now the bobbin holds 1.6 times the regular amount of bobbin threads. So in theory, you should never run out whilst you're sewing. Apparently every bobbin runs out regardless of how big it is. But the case for it, this is the case for it, is a half case. Okay, so I'll take the bobbin out. Okay, so that's the bobbin, and that is the case. It's a half case. So it can take a little bit of getting used to of threading that and loading that. But if you do decide to buy this machine, or you are thinking about buying a machine, we've got a Facebook group, HD9 users. Come and join us, and there's a few videos in there on how to load the bobbin. I mean, it's not difficult. You just put it in, you pull the thread, and then just tuck it under there, and ta-da! You know, that was really clear because you couldn't see that at all. But that's the only other sort of big change on this machine, is that half bobbin case. Now they have brought out a version 2 which has been selling in Australia so far. I'm not sure if it's going to come to the UK or Europe or America, and I nearly said Canada. But for the minute, version 1 has got these half bobbins, and it's got these ginormous bobbins that go in the bobbin case. The other thing is you do have to oil it every single day. There's, you know, all the parts are metal, there's no plastic in there at all. As such, it is quite heavy, it's quite weighty. It's not much different from my 6600, and I have taken it to retreat and not struggled, but it is quite heavy because it's quite industrial. And so there's 2 points here that you oil every day, and there's 2 points in the bobbin area that you oil every day. Now this is the oil that you get with it, and as you can see, I've had my machine, I think June or July I received it, and I've only used that much so far, so that's not too bad. It's a high-speed machine. It's classed as a high-speed machine, so it takes HLX needles, HLX5. Although Lynn and I are not sure if that's HLX5 or HL times 5, but yeah, it takes those needles, and it comes with a with this foot, which is a narrow foot, and that's very similar to an industrial machine. And Lynn uses this one all the time. She's got the same machine as me. And I bought the Teflon foot, or the Easy Glide, which is very similar again in its shape, looks like an industrial foot. And I also bought, no Rhiannon, it's not, that would be good, wouldn't it? But if you're in selfie mode on a Facebook Live, it reverses everything, so it's back to front. Be good though, wouldn't it, if it was a left-handed machine? I also bought the adjustable zip foot because I cannot live without an adjustable zip foot apparently in my life. Now I have on my machine the walking foot, which I bought. Now the feet are not particularly cheap. I don't really take my walking foot off, and it's not really because I need it, it's more a comfort blanket thing because I've always used the walking foot, and the walking foot on the 6600 was sort of built in, but this one you install it, and I just really like it. And it's a little bit wider and a little bit thicker, and I think it sort of stabilises my thick fabrics a little bit more. So yeah, so I always have the extension table on, and I always have my walking foot on just to stabilise any heavy fabrics and, you know, heavy bags that are trying to flop down and things. So that is my sewing machine. Bobbins are expensive, just to tell you, they're about £5 each, just to warn you. But if you have got a machine and you need more bobbins, there's a website, GUR Parts or Sewing Machines or something, and if you register with them, they give you a discount code and you can get discount on them. But yeah, but I mean, if you're churning bags out, you probably don't change your thread colour very often, do you? No. Yeah, so it was interesting doing my book because I needed one bobbin for every colour, and all of my technical chapters are, or my technique chapters are different colours because they're colour coded. One's like orange, one's yellow, one's, I don't know what comes after yellow, green, blue, purple, pink. So I had to get loads of bobbins, but you know, put on expenses, it's a hard life.